Well, hey guys, and welcome. My name is Mark, and today I'm going to take you through a basic guide of how Photoshop works for beginners. So if it is your first time using Photoshop, I reckon this would be a great video for you to check out. First up, let's create a new document. So to do that, let's go to File up here and New. Now what pops up here is a little panel that we can roam through, and you'll see here a bunch of different presets that Photoshop has for us. So you've got film and video over here, you've got print as well, and web. So any of those presets you might need in the future, they're right there. But for today, we're going to create a custom document here, 1000 by 1000 pixels. You can chuck a name in here if you want to. And we're going to put the resolution at 72 pixels per inch. Now this will look pretty good on screen, this image. If you wanted to make something for print, you'd probably go for a 300 pixels per inch in here, like so. But today we're going to use 72. Alright, background is white. Let's hit create. Perfect. Now let me run you through the interface and what's where. So first up here we have the toolbar on the left. So in here it's basically all the tools that we will need to use to edit our pictures are in this bar here. So above this we have the settings panel up here. So whatever we have selected in the toolbar here, say we select the brush tool here, it will pop up here a bunch of different settings that we can use to manipulate the brush tool here. So we can choose the size, the hardness, etc, etc. Or if we click the gradient tool, it will change to gradients. Alright, below the settings panel up here is all of our document tabs. So as you can see here, I've got quite a few documents open, which I don't really normally recommend. But anyway, moving on. Next up we have over here is some more settings panels. I'm starting with the color settings. So we've got a slider here, we can choose different colors. Next to that is the swatches panel, gradients panel, and patterns panel, and they all contain different presets within them that we can use to select different colors and gradients and patterns and so forth. Next to this panel we have the font panels and paragraph panels, and these pop out of my screen because my screen's a little bit small. And in here we can just choose different fonts, different colors, sizes, spacing, etc. Left justification, right justification. Okay, next down from this we have the adjustment panel, I guess you'd call it. And so with this, there's a range of different settings and presets you can select here, and that filter or effect will be applied to your layers down here, as you will see later on. Underneath here is probably the most used panel in Photoshop, and it's the layers panel. I'll just drag this up here. So in here, all your layers will appear as you drag in different images, and all the effects that you put onto those images will also appear in here if they are one of these adjustment layer type. Across from this we have the channels panel. So if you're doing any image editing, you can access the RGB channels here, the red, green and blue. Next to that is the paths window, which if you're making any paths with the pen tool, as you'll see later on, all the paths will show up in here. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to bring an image into Photoshop. So I'm going to go to the Finder here. I've got an image here that I downloaded before. So we're going to grab that and just drag it and drop it into our Photoshop document here. So there it is, as you can see. If you hit the layers panel back here, you can see here it's dropped it in there on it and made a new layer for us called Taxi 23478. So next up, what we might want to do is resize the image. So to do that, we're going to hover over one of these squares on the corners here and just simply drag it outwards. And then we can move it around too and drag it a bit more until you get the size that you want on the screen. I'm going to fill up our document here like that. And once you're happy there, you can just hit enter. Voila. Alright, so now that we've resized our image, let's find out what these tools do on the left here. So first up we have the move tool. And what this will do is, whichever layer or whatever you click on the screen, you can pick it up, you can drag it around, and it will move that image just like that. Next down from that, we have the marquee tool. So within here, there's rectangular marquees and elliptical and so forth. If we select, say, the elliptical one, we can just draw a circle on our screen here, and it will make a selection for us within those dots. And so if we now press on our keyboard Command J, what that'll do is it'll make a new layer for us with that selection inside it. So as you can see here, we hide the background. You can see it's cut out this circle for us of the previous image. Alright, after this we have the lasso tool. So it does basically the same thing as the previous marquee tool. It's a selection tool. So the only difference here is it'll allow us to actually draw our own shape, whatever we want, freehand style, and create our own selection that way. So if we did the same thing, press Command J and made a new layer with that selection, you can see it's made that shape for us again. This here is the quick selection tool. It uses its smart Photoshop brain and decides what part of the image looks similar. So we select here, it'll choose all the different segments of the image that it thinks go together. So it's a bit of an easy way to make a large selection. If we also want to put that on another layer, we could just hit Command J and cut out the taxi for us. So there you go. Alright, below this we have the crop tool. This is a very basic tool that just allows us to resize the image to whichever size we want to by dragging the corners and just hitting enter, and done. Now I'm going to undo that so we get back to our original size image just by pressing Command Z. Alright, below this we have the eyedropper tool. So the way this works is, if we want to find out what color that is on the taxi, we can simply grab our eyedropper tool, come over to the taxi here, and then just simply click on the color we want to find out. So the yellow here, if we look down here in our color foreground background selectors, we can see here it's put in a yellow color for us. Say we selected a brown part of the taxi here, it will change it to brown down there too. Next down from that we have the spot healing brush tool. This works best if you have skin or faces in your image, and pretty much what it allows you to do is basically heal up any blemishes or pimples, for example, or freckles that are on your face that you don't like the look of. So for example, we can use the road here as kind of a similar thing. If we make sure that layer is selected there and grab this tool. Now we might have to rasterize this layer. Yep, press OK there. Now we can also make this tool bigger and smaller, just like a brush tool. So you can go up here and make it larger. And then if we just drag it across here, you can see it will try and heal up and take away a few of those spots from the road for us. So that's how that works. Next up we have the brush tool. So this is a very big tool within Photoshop in terms of the amount of settings and different aspects of it. So before we use this tool, let's create a new layer in our document. So to do that, let's just hit Command-Shift-N on our keyboard. That's a bit of a shortcut. If you don't want to do that, you can also come down to the Layers panel here and just simply hit the plus button. So as you can see here, we've got the brush tool selected. You can come up here to the Settings panel and change the size of the brush, the type of the brush that you have, the hardness and the softness, etc. And up here you've got different settings like flow and opacity, which you can also mess around with. Let's maybe set our color to blue. So if we click down here on our foreground color, let's drag this slider up and go for a bluey color. Hit OK there when you're happy. And then we've got our new layer selected here. We can simply just paint on some blue brush strokes onto our image, just like that. Now that we've done our brush strokes, let's hide that layer from our screen. So let's come down here to layers and simply hit the eye tool, or the eye icon, I guess you'd call it, like that, and it hides it for us. Next down from that we have the famous clone stamp tool. What you can do is you can grab a selection of part of the image say you want more road on this footpath, so we can select part of the road over here by holding down Option and then selecting part of the road. And then what it turns into is a brush, but it's going to brush whatever we've selected over here. So we can change the size and all that too, just like a normal brush. We can simply just paint more road onto the footpath, just like that. Super handy tool and also pretty fun as well. So after this we have the eraser tool, which works just like a brush, except it subtracts or deletes part of the image that you want to delete. So say we have our cutout taxi bit here. If we wanted to get rid of this little dark part down here, we can simply change the size of it like a brush as well, and just paint or erase part of that image out like that. Next up we have the gradient tool. With this tool there are quite a few different presets you can use. So if you just select the gradient up there, you can see in here there's all different types of gradients, blues and pinks, reds and oranges. But if you do want to manually select your own colors, you can simply hit these little boxes down here and hit the orange here and just change the color like that to whatever you want it to be. So once you're happy with the color selection you've got, you can also take out a color if you just want two colors, just by simply dragging these out like that, and then hit OK. And we might make a new layer for this part too, so let's hit Command Shift N, just like that, and then click and drag on your image, and the more you drag, the wider or bigger the gradient gets. So just like that. We've also selected the radial gradient selection, so if you want a different style of gradient you can choose linear over here or so forth, different ones, and they do the same thing. Once you're happy with your gradient, what we're going to do next is we're going to make this layer a bit more invisible. So you can come over here to the layers panel and you can see opacity here. What we're going to do is hit the arrow there and then simply drag down the little slider until we're happy with how much we can see behind it. Okay, after this we have the smudge tool. So we're going to bring back our blue layer for this, our blue strokes, and then we're going to select the smudge tool, and basically it does exactly what it says it will do. It'll smudge. So it'll smudge like a brush, so whatever you have selected up here with the smudge tool, it'll smudge it with that pattern, I guess you call it. So as you can see here, we're just smudging it around and it kind of looks like purple clouds at the moment. Very nice. Okay, now we have the dodge and burn tool. So for this I'm going to hide the other layers so we can see a bit clearer, and just have our main image open. So what this tool allows you to do is it allows you to darken parts of an image or brighten them up. So we've got the dodge part selected, which is the brightening part. So as you can see, just like a brush, you can change the size and also the exposure of it too. So you can just brush it on here and it brightens up that part of the image. If you want it darker, you can select the burn tool and you can darken whichever parts of the image you feel like, just like that. Next down we have the type tool. So what this allows us to do is pretty much just put some text on our page. Let's maybe type in taxi. We'll move it over with the move tool. Maybe we'll change the color and all that. Let's make it pink, why not? Change the size here too. Also the spacing of the characters as well, etc. Also, if you wanted to put a shadow on your text, you can do so by right-clicking on your text layer and then selecting blending options. We're going to put a drop shadow on, like that, as you can see, and we might change the angle of that a little bit, maybe that way. That's not too bad. And then hit OK when you're finished with that. Alright. I might bring it up a little bit further so it's above that second taxi. And I might get rid of this blue layer, don't like it at all. Next up we have the hand tool below the text tool down here. Another easy way to access that is simply by holding spacebar, and then what it allows you to do is just move around your canvas so you have a better viewing angle, or you can find something you're missing within the picture. And lucky last, we have the famous zoom tool as we used before. Another easy way of accessing that is pressing Z on your keyboard, or Z, and then you can simply just click your mouse and zoom in to whatever part of the image you want to. To zoom out of that, you can also press the Option button on your keyboard now, and then click back out to zoom out. Alright, finally what we're going to do is we are going to put an adjustment layer and make our background here black and white. So let's select the main layer here, taxi, and let's go up to the adjustments panel, and let's choose a black and white adjustment layer. So click that and it will insert it directly above the layer that you had selected before. As you can see, it's in there. Sorry, my screen is very small, hard to see. And as you can see, it's automatically just done that for us, made it black and white. But if you want to, of course, you can mess around with the settings and change all the different colors involved and all that sort of thing, how bright or exposed the black and white is. Alright, lastly what we're going to do is we're going to export this final image. So, very easy, we're going to go up here and press File, Export, Export As, and in here you can choose what sort of file it is, JPEG, PNG or GIF. Obviously the quality and all that as well, and then when you're happy just hit export and done. Well guys, that concludes today's basic beginner's guide to Photoshop. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, if you wouldn't mind giving me a like on this video, a thumbs up, that would be really appreciated. So feel free to subscribe for more videos from me. Alright, see ya.